first run-up by just starting from a low baseline, mopping up the unemployment, doing mostly assembly line operations. Then we moved on to polishing lenses, making theodolites and balancing instruments and so on. Now this year, we are getting only about a third of the investments committed or promised that we had last year. But they are good investments in precision engineering, aircraft spare parts, petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals. And it means training, skills. It means if you want to do your children good, make sure they don't lose the work ethic. Whether it's the Confucian work ethic, whether it's the Hindu work ethic, whether it's Muslim work ethic, whether it's the Protestant work ethic. If you don't work, you're not going to make the grade. And no amount of wizardry on the part of the EDB, the Ministry of Finance, is going to pull this one off. The last 10 years, we hitched a ride as the world bounced away at about 10% a year growth in world trade up to 73. It took a nosedive in 74. It's not quite recovered in 75, but we managed, with a momentum of 8 years behind us, we managed to ride through 73 and 74. Now it's going to be different. Post the oil prices quintupling, plus a further problem of getting a new balance, a regional balance established with the new governments in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, which in turn will depend on the balance of forces between America, the Soviet Union, and China. It's going to take a few years to know how the interaction of these world powers will be, and in particular the contest for influence over the Indo-Chinese states, which means that cooperation in ASEAN on the economic and political fields must become a sincere effort to try and accommodate each other in order that by being a more cohesive group, we can deal with a group of countries with different political and economic systems on more or less equal terms. It's the need to be realistic that is paramount. It's better for the government to take the 10th anniversary celebrations to cap the successes of the last few years in undiluted self-congratulation. It's the easier way out, but it's not the best way forward. We have done as well as we could possibly have done in the past 10 years, And in order to do as well as we can in the next 5 years, let us have no scales on our eyes. Let's face the world as we find them, as we find the other countries, as we will find ourselves. And if we are to overcome these problems, many of them will depend on our own internal thrust, the drive that we've got, the capacity to face up to our problems before they become too big and too unmanageable. Whether it's in cars or in babies. If you listen to the gossip, everybody's unhappy about area licensing and the restricted zone, which we expected. But which would you have? A serious attempt made to put our traffic into some semblance of order and get people and goods circulating, or a seize up, and with it, your whole economic life or part of it is strangulated. And it will be solved. And it's not comfortable whilst it's being solved, because if you've got used to driving your own car from door to door, well, catching a bus is not as comfortable. But it is necessary. Part of the price we have to pay. It'll get better when we get more buses, and by about 77, 78, we should get a decent bus system. And eventually, 10 years, maybe 12, we've got to have a mass rapid transport system.